Today we're going to look at Magic the Gathering cards where you're going to be happy. If not, you're hoping to flood out. Normally we don't like to flood out, but you know what? Today we're going to look at cards where you do. I'm going to start off with Seismic Assault. This is a red enchantment. Choose and discard a land card. Seismic Assault deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And certainly if you can keep the flooding coming, you're going to keep the damage going. All right, we're gonna move on with just a random age. Cultivator Colossus. Does this count? Vator. Let's go look. Let's take a look at Cultivator Colossus. It is a 7-mana star plant beast. It's got trample, power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Okay, you know what? I can get behind that. So the more you flood out, the bigger this creature gets. Also, when it enters the battlefield, you can put a land card from your hand also onto the battlefield tap. So as you flood out, you can ramp yourself up. I don't know what you need more ramp for. It's 7 mana already. Are we ramping into Eldrazi's? And then if you do, draw a card and repeat this process. Oh, right. So the more lands we draw, the more we cash in. In fact, we could get 20 lands on the battlefield if we're Oops All Lands deck. All right, next up, let's take a look at Banovsky Zamone. The Quandrix Prodigy. This is a 2-mana 1/2 human wizard. Pay 1, tap. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tap. Honestly, pretty pathetic ability. Even though it's ramp. What is this? It's like a Sakura Tribe Elder or whatever. Pay 4, tap, draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 cards instead. All right, I can get behind that one. I can get behind value. But probably you're just going to draw a bunch of lands anyway. Little Dead Fly. Drawing your deck, correct? What are you talking about? Beampot with Zuron Orb. I mean, I guess 0-mana artifact, sack a land, and gain 2 life. Okay, Islarf. Deadeye Navigator. Why? Deadeye Navigator. 6 mana with Soulbound. It's a 5/5. When it's paired with another creature, each of those creatures has exile this creature, return it to the battlefield under your control. No, disqualified. Having a bunch of mana to spend on abilities, that is not going to count. You got to use something with those lands. Those lands got to be used for something. Either as a resource discarding or for ramp or something else. You know, just 1 million mana for activated ability isn't gonna work it for me. We got our first super chat here from T. Corellis. Thank you very much. Borborygmos Enraged. Borborygmos. How many enraged creatures are there in this game? It's like 6. Okay, Borborygmos. 8 mana for a 7/6. It's got trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. You put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. What are we going to do with those lands? Discard a land card. Borborygmos Enraged deals 3 damage to any target. Yes, for as many lands as you've got in your hand, you're going to deal damage. It's basically a super expensive Seismic Assault. This is like Seismic Assault is budget Borborygmos Enraged. In fact, this is overpriced Seismic Assault. Right? This is not very good value, in my opinion. But does well with flooding out anyway. Dimitri's here today. Trying out AC Tyrant of Gyre Strait. This is a 6-mana 5/5 Serpent. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. And landfall, whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, you can draw a card. This is just value the card. Does this hit any of our bingo stuff? We got like a... Okay, I never heard of this card, so that is definitely going to hit the bingo slot. Never heard of this damn card. Here's the bingo sheet. Screenshot it for the future. I depend on some of you people for them bingo alerts. Okay, Chen, does Scoot Swarm count? It counts enough, I guess, Scoot Swarm. It's basically like a landfall ability, especially since it is called landfall. Whenever a land you control create a 1/1 green insect creature token. And if you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. So for as long as Scoot Swarm doesn't die, you don't get hit by a board wipe, you want to keep them lands coming. You peel them lands and make a bazillion Scoot Swarm creatures. It's exponential. People have done the math. Scoot Swarm uninteracted with. It danger. It absolutely a danger. Is there a danger spot here? Wrong flip. I don't see it here. Okay, well, moving on. Let's get Pegman's Scape Shift. Especially if you run Field of the Dead or Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. I don't know about... yeah, either of those two actually work. Valakut is the one-shot kill, though. 4 mana sorcery. Sacrifice any number of lands. Search your library for up to that many land cards. Put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. And the combo that was mentioned was Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. The purpose of this is you scape shift and sack all your lands into a bunch of mountains in Valakut. You usually can just one-shot your opponent to death. I am pretty nervous when the scape shift player is just peeling lands off the top. They're just top decking, top deck land, top deck land, top deck land. And that now I'm in a point where, oh my god, if they top deck scape shift, it's all over. Okay, Stranger Candy, let me get Squandered Resources. Does that work? Squandered Resources? This is 2 mana, sack a land, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any type the sacrifice land could produce. Place the ability as a mana source. Oh, so you can tap, sack it, and then I guess you can replace it with all the new lands that you draw from the top of your deck. Mean Bruli with a super chat. Thanks so much. The infamous Cruel Claw. It's actually called the Infamous. All right, literally is the infamous Cruel Claw. Does this have a sword for a hand or something? 3 mana for a 3/3. Weasel Mercenary with Menace. Whenever the infamous Cruel Claw deals combat damage to a player, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. Just exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card. What does this have to do with flooding out? Nothing. It has absolutely nothing to do at all. Toilet Doc says free space is just the free space. Oh, you want to mark the free space, huh? All right, there you go. Somebody's happy that the free space has been done. Benjamin Berkeley. Kamal's Will. The Will of Kamal. 4 mana instant. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast the spell, you can choose both. Until in turn, any number of target lands you control become 1/1 elemental creatures. But they got vigilance and indestructible, and they have haste. So if you try to Armageddon me, sorry. I've got the will to play Kamal's Will. And also we can choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to that creature. For as much as we flood out, we smoke that creature into oblivion. Next up, let's take a look at Abzo's Burgeoning. Green enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. That's amazing. You play a land? Well, I get to also play a land. Oh, you play another? Well, I also get to play a land. So you have the greatest ramp in the game. There's no guarantee you're actually going to win, though. So you'll double your I guess you'll triple, quadruple your land drops. But then what are you going to do with it? You need something where, I guess, the landfall triggers, like, card draw or something. Jacob asks, what is flooding out? Flooding out is when you draw too many lands. You never heard of that, Jacob? It's a classic. You can get mana flooded and you can get mana screwed. Bingo alert. Card barely on theme and disqualified card. Okay, where we have card barely on theme. We did disqualify a card. Where's the disqualification? I'm going to use one of them. Where's the disqualified? Card sucks. Ancient scripture. Weird. Chat is wrong. Crew donation. Card barely. No, I don't. I think everything. Oh, here we go. We got a disqualified card. That's clean. Oh, and you had a suggestion. You want 6? When are we going to get 8, 9, and 10? Okay, I believe it's this card. 3 mana for a 2/4 with reach. When it attacks, mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. So for as long as you have a lot of lands in your deck, you can keep getting that. You keep getting that value. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace, which means you can cast a permanent card from your graveyard by discarding a land, in addition to paying its other mana cost. So basically, the cards in the graveyard, you can use your lands to pay for them. Lands are the new currency with 6 on the battlefield. All right, lands are basically money. 6 says, lands are money. I swear it's worth something. Everyone else looking at 6 like, yeah, sure. Whatever, buddy. Next up, let's take a look at... We got some from you, Dinglebag. Avenger of Zendikar. Is this a card that got banned? No, I thought it was banned in Commander. This one's perfectly fine in Commander. 7 mana for a 5/5. Enters the battlefield, you get a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. We all know people, they love to have their own personal garden on their balcony, and you better believe Avenger of Zendikar is no different from everyone else. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control. They love watching them grow. Avenger of Zendikar going to be on Instagram every single day. Take a look at this. This is day 3 of this plant. It's barely a sprout. Here's day 30. Growing tomatoes, growing zucchini. Next up, let's take a look at Christopher B's Aggravated Assault. 3 mana enchantment, 5 mana. Untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Disqualified. There's nothing to do with lands or flooding out or anything. I'm going to disqualify any of the activated ability cards. It literally it has to do with either using the lands as a resource, as like a raw card in your hand, or it's got to be used at like some sort of trigger or something, you know? That's the whole point. It's the whole point of this show. You know, if you're flooding out in a game, I don't think you're thinking about aggravated assaults. Next up, we got Wild Camaro, Portal to Phyrexia. I don't think that one counts either, right? It's basically in the same vein as this. Can't be just like a big mana spell. If I remember that card correctly. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Next up, okay, let's get Alan with Morog, Fury of Akum. This is a 6 mana 6/6. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 each time it attacks this turn. Now it's got landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there is an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat phase, you get to untap all your creatures. That's insane. Well, what happens with fetch lands? So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all your creatures. If it's your main phase. I don't get it. So do I get 2 attacks if I play a fetch land here? Or do I just get 1? Because by the time the second one resolves, it's not my main phase anymore? Doesn't make any sense to me. Morog can only get 1 extra combat. Okay, just thank you for correct. I was thinking that. I wasn't sure. The wording is weird, but I can get it. Okay, Isla, can I get redemption? Everyone's allowed redemption here. Nissa, Ascendant Animist. Oh, is this that card I hate? That's the elemental. Oh, I thought it was the other. I thought it was another Nissa. This is a lot of mana. What is this? 5, 7 mana, 7 loyalty. +1, create a XX green Phyrexian horror token, where X is Nissa Ascendant's Animus loyalty. -1, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then -7. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 for each forest you control, and gain trample. And you can set the ultimate off immediately. Creatures you control get for each forest you control. Oh, I see. Okay. So it's overrun for all your forests. This card's honestly awful. Any card that forces... Oh, you know... Okay, sorry. You could use Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, to turn everything into forests. From my perspective, if you have to have a bunch of basic lands in your deck, it's usually not worth it, in my opinion. But we can play non-basics and Yavimaya. That works out perfectly. Padno! Need more loot. Loot? Exuberant. Absolutely, looting works. Oh, a card literally named Loot. 3 mana for a 1/4 Beast Noble. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, but you can also pay for 6 mana and tap it. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from among them and put onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. The more lands you have in play, the greater the value of a creature you can throw onto the battlefield. How can we have a card named Loot and it doesn't actually draw discard? I feel like that's a crime. Something illegal happened here. Toads with Shaya. Soul of the Wild. 5 mana. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. It does work out. This is the second time this has been asked. What does flooding out mean? Drawing only lands? Yes, drawing only lands. MTG Cards, I hope you flood. Drawing too many lands. I'm gonna put some clarification apparently in the title. I didn't know this was I didn't know this was some secret, tacked out Magic the Gathering slang. I stand corrected. Some Commander players out there never heard of flooding out. Maybe you know what? It's because they never do. They're just always mana screwed. They never play enough lands they're never in the situation to know what flooding out actually feels like. They know what it feels like to have not enough lands. We did Cultivator Colossus, Spectral Maniac. Okay, we're going to go to Kagan. The first Tyrannic War? The first Tyrannic War goes great with Hydras. This is a 5 mana saga. Chapter 1. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield if its mana cost contains X. It enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counter on it equal to the number of lands you control. Chapter 2. Double the number of each kind of counter on target creature you control. Also for Chapter 3. I would say this barely counts. I know you have to have a whole lot of lands on here, but it feels strange even at 5 mana. So hold on. Is there a card barely counts for today's theme? This is a new card too? No, not really. Or I don't know if it's new enough overall. I haven't played since Mirrodin, so I'm probably the problem. No, flooding out has been known since like 1993. That has been coined. It's an old coined term. I'm surprised I knew about flooding out even back when I only played Yu-Gi-Oh and didn't even know that MTG was a thing. And also what's funny is Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have mana, so you can't flood out in that game at all. Does Maze's End count? That's a barely counts for today's show sort of card. Maze's End enters tapped. Pay 3, tap. Return this land to its owner's hand. Search your library for a gate card. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. Maybe this doesn't count. And I'll tell you why. Because every turn, you're just going to play Maze's End. Like, that's the whole point of this card. So even if you flood out on gates, it doesn't matter if you don't have Maze's End. But then if you do have Maze's End, that flooding out also doesn't matter because you can get all the lands off of this thing. Let's get... Who has no card yet? Whale of Darkness. Nahiri's Lithoform. Lithoforming! Okay, red X. Sacrifice X lands! For each land sacrifice this way, we do get to draw a card. That's value. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tap this turn. That is funny. So we could, in theory, sack the farm, but then we're going to draw a new farm, and then we play a new farm. I like it. See this? I like this card. If you flood out, if you have a bunch of lands, you can sack them, and if you draw more lands, you put them right back onto the battlefield. Next up, Spectral Maniac with have we done Valakut Exploration? Why do you want to explore Valakut? It's a bunch of lava. Get out of there. 3-mana enchantment. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. And at the beginning of your end step, so you do get card advantage out of this thing one way or another. At the beginning of your end step, if there are cards exiled with Valakut Exploration, put them in their owner's graveyard. Then Valakut Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent. Wow, that's pretty good. That's value. Steve Cooper, the Necrobloom. Is that a flower? It's a plant. And we also have a donation to chat. Thanks so much, Steve Cooper. So for 4 mana, we have a 2/7 plant. It also has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. So what is this, like Field of the Dead in creature form? Oh, I didn't realize this. This is Modern Horizons 3 card. They literally reprinted Field of the Dead in the form of a creature. Land cards in your graveyard have Dredge too. Be afraid of Dredge. Be very afraid. Does Flood count? Tap? No, I'm disqualifying activated abilities. Like if you flood out on mana to like pay the activated ability over and over again, I'm just not counting it. It's not. It doesn't vibe with me. It doesn't zyber with me, I would say. I've been trying so much with this one. What do you mean with Flood? Or you mean the spider? Or sorry, the plant. The plant that makes zombies. That doesn't make any damn sense. Evan, Springheart Nantuko. This is the super chat donation. Oh yeah, this thing's insane. This thing can copy creatures. So first you can bestow this onto a creature. It gets +1/+1 as landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 2 mana. And if Springheart Nantuko is attached to a creature, if you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature. And then if it isn't attached to a creature, you get a 1/1 green insect creature token instead. I think being able to copy the creature that you have in play over and over and over again, that is outrageous value. Too good a value. Hansen Chen, Ren and 7 plus Ren and 6, Ren and 7. 5 mana. Oh god, so many abilities. 5 loyalty. Okay, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. Put all lands. I mean, if you need the lands. Hey, why are we looking at the top 4 cards of our library? We're looking for lands anyway. And then pay 0. Put any number of lands from your hand onto the battlefield. Now that's insane. And then -3. First 2 abilities are all about flooding out. Okay, -3. Create a green tree folk token with reach. This creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And -8. Return all permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. I would say this card is literally the show incarnate for the most part. Jacob with Bonnie Paul Clear Cutter. Oh, by the way, that last card, it's a pretty new card. Card is less than 1 year old. So we gotta scratch that off the bingo card. 6 mana for a 6/5 Giant Scout Reach. When Bonnie Paul Clear Cutter enters the battlefield, create a Bew, a legendary blue ox. How majestic. The creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever you attack, draw a card. Then you may put a land from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Well, that's nasty, because you can bring them fetch lands back from the graveyard to the battlefield. Next up, let's take a look at... We have a super chat. We have Stanel, the Corrupt Nightmare. Corrupt Nightmare? Oh, sorry. You just want 1 card. Corrupt. This is a class. This is old, isn't it? Isn't it old? Isn't it like from Urza's Saga? Back in my day, people won with this damn thing, and they're happy about it. 6 mana sorcery deals 1 damage to target creature or player for each swamp you control. And when it successfully deals damage to a creature, gain life equal to that damage. Why can't we just suck the soul from our opponents? So that's an old card, which also hits the bingo card. Told Steve Cooper to get rid of these. These are too easy. Way too easy to create. Next up, Christopher B with Aggressive Mining. I like this card. Unfortunately, it's not good, but I like the idea. You know, the concept is there. It's a 4-mana enchantment. You can't play lands, but you sack a land to draw 2 cards. Activate this ability only once each turn. Now, the idea is you got to play with cards that let you cheat the lands into play for your land drops, and then for each of those lands that are in play, you sack it to get more card draw. But ideally, you need to, step 1, flood out. Step 2, play Aggressive Mining. Next up, bingo alert. Old card, ancient scripture, rules text. No, we got old card. Oh, was there an ancient scriptures rule text? Okay, we'll give the ancient scripture rule text as well. The ancient scripture. Sorry, elixir with Shigeki, Jukai, Visionary. 2 mana for a 1/3 Snake Druid. 2 mana, tap, return Shigeki to its owner's hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them onto the battlefield. Tap, put the rest into your graveyard. This is awful. It's got channel, though, for green XX. Discard Shigeki. Return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. This is so bad. I have to wait a turn, pay 2 mana, reveal the top 4 cards that you may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. And but it fills the graveyard. This card is stone cold trash. Qualifies for the show, though. I will give it that. Kagan, would natural affinity count? You keep land dropping so you're not the threat, and then boom! Absolutely it counts. This turns all your creatures into 2/2s, right? Until end of turn, 3 mana instant. Until end of turn, all lands become 2/2 creatures! Oh, by the way, there's still lands. That's what the AI would say. It is still a land. Board wipe. Ah, you have activated my trap card, the natural affinity. Like, that's another way of get people. Someone plays like Supreme Verdict or something. I've got a response that nobody's going to be happy to hear. The natural affinity. Get your mana rocks, people. You got to play your mana rocks. Okay, Bell with Magmatic Insight. What about that insight? Red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, we got to discard a land card, but we get to draw 2 cards. What does this remind me of? An additional cost to cast the spell, discard a land card, draw 2 cards. Whatever. Reminds me of something like sack a artifact. It reminds me of the cards where you have to sack a creature or artifact in play, and then you draw 2 cards. That's what it feels like. So I don't have to sack anything in play. Hexanort, Ayula. I think you forgot to finish this off. Is it Ayula or Ayula's Influence? I'm gonna go with Ayula's Influence because I like this card better. Green enchantment. It's got a bear. Discard a land card. Create a 2/2 green bear token. I like this one. Went nowhere. You know what? Like I have a feeling in Modern Horizons 2 they were way more hopeful for this card and like just stone cold unplayable on day 1. That's too bad. Okay, we're gonna take a look at a lot more cards that you're gonna hope to flood out on. But we gotta thank our sponsors today. If you start with FusionGamingOnline.com, my favorite place to buy my Magic the Gathering cards. And if you're looking for cards where you hope to flood out on, and look, there's nothing wrong with playing like 1/3 of your deck lands, especially when you got that insurance package. Is there not a deal of the week here? Weekly deal. What is the deal of the week this week? 15% off all Secret Lair box sets. Get them while they're hot. But you know what also is hot? Magic the Gathering Foundations. By the way, it's a Canadian company, but they will ship I'm pretty sure they ship worldwide. Can't guarantee, what's it called? Antarctica. But do you know what would also help is when you use coupon code Nikachu at checkout to get 5% off all your purchases. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. You can play any deck, any format you want, especially cards that help prevent you from flooding out. And when you're renting with Mana Traders, you can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 40% off cash back on your 3rd month subscription using coupon code Nikachu_4KA. And now back to the great insurance policies. Flood insurance. This show is all about flood insurance today. Toilet Dock doesn't have a card yet. Pyre of the World Tree. It's a weird card. It's 4 mana. It's a siege. When Invasion of Kaldheim enters the battle... Did I get this one? Oh, it's on the other side. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. Until the end of your next turn, you may play cards exiled this way. So what happens on the other side? Pyre of the World Tree. Discard a land card. Pyre of the World Tree deals 2 damage to any target. Whenever you discard a land card, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. This is the best value, in my opinion. We deal damage and we're drawing cards? Are you sure this hits the bit? You want a bingo for this? Are battles weird in 2024 now? I have a feeling battles are going to age so poorly. I think the card concept just is awful. Oh, there was a card sucks. That was that one that bounced back to your hand. We missed that one. Okay, where's weird card? Okay, here we got weird card. Okay, super chat. Pabno's like, last one. You mean it's your second last one. Some Dino representation. Rampaging Barontodon. Great card, just need ramp. And haste and hexproof. Yes. All we need to do is make our creatures hasty and indestructible, and all. Then they're all playable. 7 mana, 7/7 with trample. When it attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each land you control. It'd be a big. It's gonna become big fellow. Lethian Lightning Storm. Oh! You couldn't be more right. It's lightning. I don't think this is a weird card, because this is one. I think this is the only card I know that has an activated ability on the stack. I think it is so strange. 3 mana, instant. Lightning Storm deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is 3 plus the number of charge counters on it. Discard a land card. Put 2 charge counters on Lightning Storm. You may choose a new target for it. Any player may play this ability, but only if Lightning Storm is on the stack. That is really bizarre. Emil is like, I think battles could be cool. Well, they screwed up. They screwed it up big time. AI card alerts. Oh, it's real Magic the Gathering cards that feel like AI generated cards. That's definitely Lightning Storm. That's a real card. You gotta discard lands. I once screwed someone over by Lightning Storming them back. I had more lands than they did. They played as many lands as they could to kill me, and then I started redirecting back at them. Never underestimate your opponent having lands, too. I can't tell who the hell has gotten a card and who hasn't got a card. I don't think Pedgeman got anything yet. Journey to the Oracle. Remember, if you didn't get a card yet, you just put NCY. Means no card yet. 8 mana. 8 mana. Okay, well, we're going to need the mana to get this thing in play. 5/5. When discard a card. Ooh, return Yaji, Oracle of Arcavius to its owner's hand. It also has Magecraft. When you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 than rather than paying its mana cost. But if it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. What does that have on the other side? Journey to the Oracle. 4 mana, sorcery. You may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then if you control 8 or more land cards, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey of the Oracle to its owner's hand. That works. We got Gunksford. Azusa. Lost but Seeking. You're not wrong. Double your lands a turn with Azusa, Lost but Seeking. Sorry, triple your lands. Because it says you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. In addition to the 1 land you've already played for the turn. Break the rules with Azusa. Lost but Seeking. You will find that you will not be lost with Azusa at your side. Demanger, Sylvan Safekeeper to keep things safe. Sylvan Safekeeper. In some sense, I am pretty pissed at people who draw a lot of lands versus me when they have Sylvan Safekeeper in play. Green 1/1. Sack a land. Target creature you control gains Shroud until end of turn. So they can deflect any removal spell. Very frustrating. Okay, we got T. Corellis. Tireless Tracker can draw you out of mana pockets. Thanks so much for that super chat. Do you think Tireless Tracker works where there's tires? Are they actually tracking tires? No, there's Tireless. They are tracking how many less tires they have. 3 mana for a 3/2 human scout. Landfall. Enters the battlefield, you get to investigate. But when so you get a clue token, and whenever you sack a clue token, put a +1/+1 counter on your Tireless Tracker. Used to be a modern staple. It was a very strong card back in the day. When things weren't so aggressive, there wasn't so much removal. This thing would be on the battlefield. You get a few land drops, you have a bunch of clues, and if the game just goes long, just draw a bunch of cards. Blackbird, Liliana of the Dark Realms. Really? Liliana of the Dark Realms. What does Liliana have to do with lands? Oh, this is the old one. +1, search your library for a swamp. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Target creature gets +X/+X or -X/-X. Until end of turn, where X is the number of swamps you control. And then -6, you get an emblem with swamps you control, have tap, add quadruple black to your mana pool. Mana for everybody. I don't even know if you need to flood out for this card to be useful. What do you, like, let's say you flood out, you have 7 lands in play. 7 times 4, that's 28. What are you going to do with 28 mana? Well, some people just like to play with all the cards in their hand. West Coast Games. Land's Edge. Is it related to the Razor's Edge? That's an old card. 3 mana Enchant World. Any player may choose and discard a card from their hand at any time. If a player discards a land, Land's Edge deals 2 damage to target player of that player's choice. Ah, I love it. This is a fantastic card. A really good use out of flooding out. Is this an old Seismic Assault? It's just Seismic Assault for everybody. Group Hug Assault, if that even means anything. Rough 1/1. Eluge, the Shoreless Sea. Is that a big fish? 4 mana. I don't know why this gives me Star Wars vibes. When they went to that, there was that water world. 4 mana, elemental fish, power and toughness are equal to the number of islands you control. When Eluge enters or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. It's an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. The first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs a blue, or 1. Let's cast for each land you control with a flood counter on it. Cool. Oh, so you can give yourself the flood counters. Reston Serpentine's like, what do you do with 28 mana? You drain life. When life gives you mana, you drain life. Let's give one to Bell. Flubs, the Fool. Flubs? What's up with this? 3 mana for a 0/5 Frog Scout. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, but when you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. If you have no cards in hand, otherwise discard a card. Interesting. So if we don't have no cards in hand, we're gonna certainly get there. Oh, you could like break this. If you have instants in your hand, you could play a land, but trigger on the stack, just play your spell. Oh, but then you're gonna draw a card and then you have to discard it. It sounds like this is a fun card to actually play with. Pabno's like, Flubs is cute. You're right. Flubs is cute. The Fool from Major Arcana? I have no idea. I don't even know what that is. Who still has no card at all? I think maybe we got everyone. Maybe we got Abzo with Lord Windgrace. The Lord. The Windgrace of all lords. This is a 5 mana, 5 loyalty, Windgrace. Oh, it can be your commander. +2, discard a card, then draw a card. If the land was discarded this way, you get actually 2 cards. That's insane. discard land, +2, discard a land and draw 2 cards. That's broken. That's absolutely broken. It goes straight to 7 loyalty too. Starts out at 5, go to 7. -3, return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Is this modern legal? It's not. It's only legacy legal. -11. Like, who cares? This is like the ultimate card draw machine. Destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green cat warrior creature tokens with forest walk. I think this is completely insane. Does it count for the danger space? I think we got the danger space. Oh, card it danger. Oh, we did not do that. Yes. I think this is OP. This is like super, it's like a super Howling Mine. How can you put no card yet, dude? Didn't you get like one of the first ones? Glistening Dawn. Oh, maybe I disqualified you. Some people get disqualified. 4 mana sorcery. Incubate X twice, where X is the number of lands you control. To incubate X, create an incubator token with X +1/+1 counters on it, and pay 2. Transform this artifact. It transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature. Was there a bingo there? Did I miss a bingo? Oh, we got a bingo! Cool. We got one bingo, everyone. Congratulations! Should all be very proud of yourselves. I didn't even notice the bingo. I guess I must be one of those people. If I had lottery tickets, I would be like, I lost, and throw it away without even checking if I actually won. Thing is, I don't play the lottery. I make my own luck. Emil, depends on how superstitious you are, I suppose. Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, here we go. Foil from Beanpot. That's simple, but it checks out. 4 mana, instant. You may discard an island card and another card rather than pay this spell's mana cost. It could be another island. Didn't specify. So you can counter somebody's spell. Flooding out? No problem with foil. Do you know what? Buyback? Or I don't know, some buybacks are discarding cards, some don't. Okay, Pabno. That poor, sweet mechanic. Barrel down Sokenzan. Barrel down. 3 mana instant. Sweep! That poor mechanic. Return any number of mountains you control to their owner's hand. Barrel down Sokenzan deals damage to target creature equal to twice the number of mountains returned this way. Step 1, don't die. Step 2, play all your flooded out lands. Step 3, big one-shot blowout with Barrel down Sokenzan. Hopefully you finish them off with Higetsugo second right. Chen's second suggestion is pretty funny. Too much forest? Try the wood elemental. I mean, you're not wrong, but even if I built my deck for flooding out, I still wouldn't play this card. We have another for wood elemental. Sorry, Mello, you just got sniped. Well, sniped. Quote unquote sniped. Okay, let's get a Christopher B donation from Benovsky. Thank you very much, Benovsky. Where's Christopher B? What was the last thing that he said? We have a million of these. Okay, Budoka Gardener. Is there like a bunch of stuff from Champions of Kamigawa that go with lands? 2 mana for a 2/1. Tap. You may put a land card from your hand into play. If you control 10 or more lands, we're gonna flip the Budoka Gardener into the Dokai Weaver of Life. 6 mana. Tap. Put an XX green elemental creature token into play, where X is the number of lands you control. It's a token generator. We gotta make them tokens all day and all night. Wood Elemental plus Mayhem Devil to live the dream. That's synergy. That's synergy right there. Bingo alert donation to chat. Was there? Oh, Well, that would be the where was the donation to chat? By the way, this bingo card is brought to us by Steve Cooper. Oh, donation to chat. Actually, that was originally triggered by Steve Cooper. Steve was the first one to actually donate anything to chat. I guess we have to start going to no two cards yet. People love their tokens. Kano with Decaying Time Loop. For mana, instant, discard all cards in your hand. Then draw that many cards. Also has retrace. Okay, I like that one. You may cast this card is it only until end of turn? You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding this card itself. By discarding a land card in addition to its to paying its other costs. So probably any retrace card works for the show. So you discard your land card, you get a Decaying Time Loop. That works out. Okay, Elixir. Sword of the Animist. Two mana legendary equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, but whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card. Put onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. This actually has nothing to do with flooding out. You don't get any benefit. You're not flooding out because you're actually literally looking for the land. Well, I'm sorry, but this super chat doesn't work. We're gonna have to donate that super chat. Let's give it to... I guess we give it to Dimitri. Ancient Green Warden. Especially since Dimitri isn't here very often all the time. That time change just killed a lot of people. 6 mana for a 5/7 elemental. With reach, you may play lands from your graveyard. If a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. This could be absolutely OP. So basically, like if you have any landfall abilities, now basically double. Plus, you can play your fetch lands from the graveyard. Do they come into battlefield tapped? Maybe play land. No, you just play lands from your battlefield. Play fetch land. Trigger. Double trigger. Crack the fetch land. Another double trigger. Next up, let's get John with Mana Bound. Is it Mana Bond? I have a feeling it's Mana Bond. Did we do this one? At the beginning of your end step, you may reveal your hand and put all land cards from it onto the battlefield. If you do, discard your hand. I actually don't think we did this one. But yeah, it does work out for if you're flooding out. Draw a land. No, sorry. Draw a draw spell. Draw a bunch of lands. Mana bond them all into the battlefield. This plus that extra combat Minotaur. Oh my goodness. Jacob Thune, does Progenitus count? No. I have a Progenitus deck that runs about 70 lands. I don't know what that would mean. So anyway, we'll donate that one. Progenitus just has protection from everything. Let's give another card to Marcio just showed up. Journey to the Oracle. Oh, we did that one. Sorry about that. So now we're going to give it to Surefire Selves with Sasaya Orochi Ascendant. No, we didn't do this one. I was like, another flip green creature? 3 mana for a 2/3. Reveal your hand. If you have 7 or more land cards in your hand, you get to flip this card into Sasaya's Essence. Whenever a land you control is tapped for mana, add 1 mana of that type to your mana pool for each other land you control with the same name. What a wild card. You need to have 7 lands in hand. Just reveal your hand. I could also reveal my hand, and, this is a look at it card. Do we have look at it on here? It's more of a AI thing. Jazz wrong. Nope. But I don't see it here. This is a look at it card. Next up, let's get... Triox. I don't know if Triox got a card. Did we do Sylvan Awakening? Nope. 3 mana sorcery. Until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creatures with reach, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. So it's basically, what is it? That's something affinity, except this is the slow version. But your creatures are indestructible until your next turn. All lands you control, and also only your lands become creatures. Everyone else's are still lands. Can't get them. LMAO, cards that grant more mana for drawing more lands. Yep. That's how it is. Trip says that's definitely among the hardest cards to flip or transform for face up. Well, it depends. If this it's a legendary creature. If you play an all lands deck, I think it'd be very easy. And by the way, a lot of lands they play like spells. That's the key here, people. Play oops all lands. Mason with Sakura Tribe Scout. Sakura Tribe. This is the old-fashioned card to. Scryfall, you don't know. Sakura Tribe Scout. There we go. The old-fashioned card that ramps you up. Green, 1/1. Tap, put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Or into play. Bell, what do you got for us today? The Dragon Master Outcast. All it needs is hexproof. Everything just needs hexproof. If only it had hexproof, it would be perfect. The red 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red creature token. Red dragon creature token with flying. Say this barely counts. Beyond 6 more lands, though, I mean, it's useless, right? So if you got more, if you flood out, you can flood out with the Dragon Master Outcast. But at the least, at every single turn, you are going to have the 5/5 dragon anyway. What else do we have here? Trip says, true. I forgot about modal double-faced cards when saying that. Actually, those don't count. Because those would be considered spells, to be honest. Yeah, the double modal face cards, they would be considered spells, not lands when you reveal them. So actually, those don't count. That's oops all spells. You want oops all lands. You know, Dark Dapps, Field of the Dead. You know, there's a lot of lands that you can make an army out of those lands. Okay, Marcio gonna try again. The Entwood. Is it Hue? Oh, it actually is called Hue. 5 mana, sorcery. Sacrifice any number of lands. Reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands sacrificed this way. And then choose any number of artifact and or land cards revealed this way. Put all non-land cards chosen this way onto the battlefield. Then put all land cards chosen this way onto the battlefield tapped. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You can convert all those lands into actual creatures. So, you know, you flood it out by accident. Turn it into something useful. Bakodi with Countryside Crusher. Countryside Crush. Gonna be crushing. Okay, 3 mana for a 3/3 giant warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into your graveyard and repeat the process. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on Countryside Crusher. The countryside literally looks like they're in the middle of nowhere. This is the countryside. This looks like Mad Max. The whole thing is giving me Mad Max vibes. It's a land card put into your graveyard and repeat the process. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere. So we can, if we fled out horribly, this is a funny card. I like this card a lot. It's very creative. If technically you're flooding out on the top of your deck, you actually buff this guy up by a ton. Do we have something for creativity? Card Zybers. I'll put that where. There we go. It's a Zybering card. I developed Dragon Master Outcast and submitted it to Wizards of the Coast. Did you? You made Mad Max? Well, now you're just taking credit for all sorts of weird things. It's destroyed the countryside to make it rocky and barren. Oh, is that the theme? Just sucking the life out of it, is it? Do I have another super chat here? One bet. If Dragon Master is no good, what about trade routes? Trade routes, 2 mana, enchantment. Pay 1, return target land you control to its owner's hand. Pay 1, discard a land, draw a card. Oh, you created your own cycling card. Cycling at its best. Did we do bend or break? Bend or break. Is that a split card? Sounds like a two-sided card. Hold on, I think I have to put bend dash break. Oh, it's literally called bend or break. Problem is, if I put bend or break into Scryfall, it looks up every card with bend and every card with break. 4 mana sorcery. Each player separates all land cards they control into 2 face-up piles. Now, for each player, an opponent chooses a pile. Destroy lands in that pile. Tap all lands in the other pile. So for each player, separate all lands to 2 face-up piles. For each player, an opponent chooses a pile. Okay, so if you flood out, you actually end up with more lands than your opponent. This barely counts for the show. Okay, we have a big super chat here from Steve Cooper. Did we do Seismic Assault? In fact, I started the show with it. But your super chats will be very much appreciated. So basically, you've donated 5 of them. Okay, we got Hexanort with Scorched Earth. Here, I'll give a super chat sound effect for everything that was donated. Donated super chats deserve a sound effect. Red X sorcery. Ooh, choose and discard X land cards. Oh, it destroys lands. I thought we were gonna draw cards. Destroy X target lands. It's evil, completely evil. It's so much easier to discard lands in your hand. What is choose and discard X land cards, destroy X target lands? This card looks insane. It's basically pay a red. Oh no, pay 2 mana, discard a card, blow up a land. How is this not seeing more play? You could even use that dredge land with that card. Choose and discard X land cards, destroy X target lands. What am I missing here? I guess the problem is if it gets counterspelled, you're like, oh, it'd be super big sad. Okay, second donation. Maybe given to Demanger. Living Twister. 3 mana for a 2/5 elemental. Pay 2, discard a land card. Deals 2 damage to any target. Also for a green, return a tapped land you control to its owner's hand. But we don't need to use that ability because we're flooding out anyway. Toilet Duck with Nissa, Steward of Elements. Absolutely busted card. Oh no, this is the wrong Nissa. Is this the card you want? Scry 2. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a land or creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to number of loyalty counters on Nissa, put onto the battlefield. -6. Untap up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elemental creatures with flying and haste until end of turn. There's still lands. Sure, it works. It's not the most beautiful card. We did Scapeshift already in Marcio. We have done it already. Okay, Benjamin wants Obnixilis, the Fallen. Don't worry, Obnixilis. All you gotta do is pick yourself back up. 5 mana for a 3/3 demon. It's got landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target player lose 3 life. If you do, put 3 +1/+1 counters on Obnixilis, the Fallen. It's gonna get bigger. Who also still doesn't have 2 cards yet? Emil! You can put a lot of mana into the Doppelgang. Which one? This one? I don't think this is gonna count. Okay, hold on. So we have green, 2 mana and X sorcery. For each X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. So it doesn't. So I'm not counting anything where you have to spend like a lot of mana. It's just important to have like extra lands in play, extra cards to discard. So I don't count that. What does Nikachu have against Nissa? It was the wrong Nissa. It was no, that Nissa's fine. There's another Nissa that like looks for elementals in your deck, which is just insane. Toilet Duck's like, thumbnail worthy card? Well, only if I mention it. Sometimes I don't know what's going to be the thumbnail. Who also still doesn't have? My bad. You discard from hand. I've had a long day. You can discard from hand. That's okay. Okay, Evan with Liege of the Tangle. This is a 8 mana, 8/8 elemental with trample. Whenever Liege of the Tangle deals combat damage to a player, you may choose any number of target lands you control and put an awaken counter on them. Each of those lands is an 8/8 green elemental creature for as long as it has an awaken counter on it. If there's still lands, you can choose any number target lands. So basically, you deal some damage to your opponent, and then it's an 8/8 army that your opponent has to deal with for the rest of the game. Look, Dimitri out here wants 3 cards. Some people haven't. I don't even know if. I think some people don't even have 1 card. I guess I'm just gonna have to give it to Dimitri. No 2 free cards. Yeah, I know you've donated a lot of them. Okay, you want? We did Azusa, Lost But Seeking, or Braids. Let's do Braids, Arisen, Nightmare. 3 mana for a 3/3 Nightmare. At the beginning of your end step, you may sack an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sack a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life, and you get to draw a card. So with you, if you keep flooding out on lands, you're going to keep sacking those lands. And your opponents will be like, oh my god, I can't keep affording to sack my lands around here. When are they going to stop drawing lands? It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Okay, I believe that was 5 super chats. We go to A Duck. That's right. Calamitous Cave-In. Cave-In. Sorry. Cave-In. Calamitous Cave-In. See what it's all about. 4 mana sorcery. Deals X damage to each creature and each planeswalker, where X is the number of caves you control, plus the number of cave cards in your graveyard. Maybe you have accidentally discarded some of them caves at the same time. Let's finish the show on Banovsky, the Ramunap Excavator. Have we done that one? Ramunap Excavator. Oh, you may play lands from your graveyard. This actually has nothing really to do with flooding out. We'll give it to Triox Moltani. Which one? The OG? 6 mana. Has power and toughness each equal to the total number of cards in all players' hands. Cannot be the target of spells or abilities. Also gets disqualified. Alright, well, this is very hard to end the show around here. Lesthian with Nantuko Cultivator. We've completely fallen off. Wow, look at that art. It's almost like an alien. 4 mana 2/2 Insect Druid. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard any number of land cards. You put that many +1/+1 counters on your Nantuko. Oh, and you get to draw that many cards. Look at the value for flooding out over there. All right, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Now you know if you hate flooding out, you got to play these cards. You got to put them in your deck. You don't want to miss that value. So we got to be here at this show. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. If you're a patron on Patreon, a member on YouTube, or a super chatter, or you super chat to help other people be part of the show. And of course, thanks to everybody who shows up for these shows. People like Benjamin Berkeley, Dimitri, we got Demanger, Richard, Kano, Christopher B, Dinglebag, Steve Cooper, Alice. We got Evan, Trip Fontaine, Banovsky, Lasthian, Paul Rock, Bell. Merry Christmas, probably not here. We still have one. No, we have quite a few shows before it's Christmas, before the happy holidays. So as usual, my coffee crew, keep brewing them coffees, and we're going to keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.